各位亲爱的网友朋友，大家好。
Hello everyone.
今天呢，我们的主题主要就是介绍一下大慈大悲观世音菩萨。
Today, our main topic is to
这个
introduce
作为
Guanyin
咱们华
Bodhisattvas.
人，你们两位美女观世音菩萨听说过吗？
As a Chinese,
听说过
and two beautiful ladies here, have you ever heard of Guanyin Bodhisattvas?
供观世音菩萨是吧？
Yes, we have. From young,
对对对，
there's also a
中国人
tradition
南方
to
北方
worship Guanyin Bodhisattvas.
遍地人群都供奉观世音菩萨它一定很灵验
对，
It is actually very popular for the general people to worship Guanyin Bodhisattvas, and I'm sure she provides a lot of blessings.
稍稍解释一下
So today, I'm going to give you a brief introductions of Guanyin.
和别人的解释有一些差别。
Maybe you may find that my introductions may be slightly different from others.
先把手机声音关掉好，观世音菩萨呢，他不是一个人。
Guanyin Bodhisattvas
就我们
is
听说
not
过
a
的
human
观世音
being.
菩萨以人的形象的这些故事，
Although we have
其实
heard
都是人
about
构建
Guanyin
的
Bodhisattva manifest in the forms of human
他
beings,
是谁呢？
but who exactly is Guanyin Bodhisattva?
他其实是非人类。
Actually, Guanyin Bodhisattvas is a divine
知
being.
道吗？之前咱们讲过那个天神有各个层次境界，对不对？
Previously, we did talk about the non-human realms. In the celestial
众神之上
realms is
最
quite
高
different
境界的
beings.
神类。但是呢，他又是归于佛，
So, Guanyin
因为
Bodhisattvas
他信仰
is
慈悲
also a
但
Buddha
是在于宇宙
because
三道
of her
轮回的
belief
这个过程之
in
中宇宙三道
compassions.
的概念，它也许有慈悲这个概念，
But in the
它不是
concept of
纯慈
the
悲的这样一种
universe,
存在
maybe there is also the
而是
concept of
有它的
compassion.
就是阴阳好坏生死对起落的这样的一种对应性规律。
There's also
所以呢，
a certain
在这个神的世界，
systems in
不是说
the
都是慈
divine
悲
world.
但是
They
观世音
believe
菩萨
in
这一
compassions.
尊神灵，他相信慈悲，
But
他知道
Guanyin
这个世界
Bodhisattvas, a
它
divine
有
being,
慈悲的
believe
概念
in
但不是纯
compassion.
慈悲的。但是观世音菩萨这一尊神灵，他相信慈悲，
So Guanyin, as a divine being,
的意
believe
思
in
呢，
compassions.
他在若干劫，那每一劫就几千亿年，就是这样不知有多少劫，他的修行就是修行慈悲之法，就获得
Thus, having developed compassions and a great aspirations
就是他的
to
能力
benefit
神通
beings after
能量都是
countless
无
eons
限
of
的
suffering,
但是因为这种
she
信仰
has reached
使他的这种
perfections.
智慧、眼光、境界和慈悲达到了一种新的、更完美
So
的
this is actually a higher level of attainment, higher level of
观世
energy.
音菩萨，他不是说一个人修成了菩萨，修成了佛的概念，而是呢，是人类在修行之中发现了。
So actually, Guanyin Bodhisattvas is not like she
是这样的
cultivate to attain Buddhahood. It is actually through the human being's own cultivations that they discover Guanyin Bodhisattvas.
大迦叶呀
So in
等等
2,500 years
这
ago,
些释迦牟尼
Sikamuni
佛在
Buddha's
人间
disciple,
和人间
when
弟子
he
这个状
was
态，它又是不
on
一样的
earth, and
也因此
he
呢
has his
所以在
disciple
这
is
个
different from
小乘
Sikamuni
佛教
Buddha.
南传佛教之中呢，
So
他们就不太理解这一点。
in the
我
this
觉得也是一个叫修行境地，没有达到那样的一种更高的一种叫精神视觉的状态。这个精神视觉的状态，就是类似叫禅定，就是所谓的波罗蜜状态，就是极度深层的这个禅定状态，才使我们的，我只能称为叫做非视觉的视觉，看到了更
So in the
博大的世界
Hinayana Buddhism,
和世界的
they
真相，
may not be able to understand
又
this.
发现到了观世音菩萨。
So it is through the practice of cultivations, through the practice of meditations in the Mahayanas Buddhism that they discover the existence of Guanyin Bodhisattvas.
观世音菩萨广大圆满无碍大悲心陀罗尼经，这个经文的名字就很长哈。对，这部经中呢。
So in the Sutra of the Thousand Armed, Thousand Eyes Guanyin Bodhisattvas, it describes the extraordinary powers of Guanyin.
它有这个不可思议的神力呀，在过去无量劫中，也就是很久很久很久以前，观世音菩萨已经成佛。
And
已经成佛了。
Guanyin Bodhisattvas, as a divine being, has already attained Buddhahood.
这是他的佛号，就是释迦牟尼佛叫释迦牟尼，那观世音菩萨的佛号呢叫做正法明，但是人更习惯的是说叫观世音菩萨，就是这样。他以这个大慈愿力。
So she has great compassionate heart, and that is her greatest aspirations. And her compassionate heart, and she hoped to hear the calls of all sentient beings suffering. And she is always ready to help and benefits all beings in distress.
化现为菩萨，这个菩萨是什么概念呢？叫做非佛。
Actually, her merits have already attained Buddhahood, but she is willing to take on the existence of the Bodhisattvas. And she has boundless spiritual powers and countless manifestations. So what is the image that she portrays? She will come to the rescued or come to assistance, depending on the needs of the sentient beings that request the needs. Say for a lot of places, they have the white-robed Guanyin Bodhisattvas. That's the one that's very common, being worshipped by the general public. So this white-robed Guanyin Bodhisattvas is a very common statue that's been worshipped. Say probably 1,000 years ago, the image of Guanyin Bodhisattvas is actually a male figure and even has some beard on. Why is it that it changed to a female? But that's because of her vows and aspirations. Because she takes on different manifestations. So,
可是在某种场合下，比如说你在山上遇到劫匪，是吧？你看，那更需要一个英雄好汉的样子，说，哎，英雄好汉的样子就出来了。
So let's say you are in the mountainous areas and there are some bandits. So Guanyin Bodhisattvas may come as a strong rescuer for you. So if you are suffering in the oceans or you have some going through some difficulties, maybe Guanyin will manifest as old fishermen in a boat that come to your rescue. So it will manifest in different forms to come to help you. And not only in the human world, even in the celestial world, there are also beings that needs Guanyin's, that needs her to help as well. So that's why we have the image that that's more familiar with us and it's easy for us to communicate. So that's why the manifestations is not fixed. But why is it that in Greater China we seem to see a female image of Guanyin? That seems to be more popular and more widely accepted. In ancient China, there is a tradition So for women, when they marry someone, they want to ensure that the marriage will last a lifetime. So they want to make sure that they protect and nurture their own marriage. So in a lot of worship of the deities, to be safe, the husband, they don't want to create some unnecessary mistrust. So if Guanyin Bodhisattva take on the image of female ladies, it is more acceptable. And that's because of the traditional rituals in China. So that's why if you look at the image of Guanyin, it portrays a motherly, compassionate love, so that when the wife were to worship the divine deities at home, the husband will feel safe. And in Korea, in many of the temples, in recently the one that we visited in Korea is the Tang Dynasty's image of Guanyin that has beard, which is a male form, male manifestations. That's in Korea. But in Asia, generally it's a female manifestations. But as you can see, in Asia, they are both the male version and the female version. But that's because of the different needs. Say, for example, when you are in the oceans and someone drops into the oceans and is going to be drowned, and when she helps, she doesn't manifest in any forms, she just helps. So because of her power, she's able to manifest various forms and help. So in the belief of the Western Pure Land, she is also taken one of the great Bodhisattvas to help Amitabha Buddhas. So she is one of the two great Bodhisattvas of Amitabha Buddhas. When I was much younger, I ever thought about it. We always think, who is more powerful or who is greater? Who has more power? Who has greater energy? That's always what's in our thoughts and our belief. But actually, in the Buddha's world, there's no rivalry for fame and gain, because their fundamental objective is to help all sentient beings. So there is no such competitiveness. So actually, Guanyin Bodhisattvas, and after countless eons of suffering, Guanyin Bodhisattvas have already attained perfections. Although she seems to manifest as an assistance to Amitabha Buddhas, but actually, in the Buddha lands, there's no such distinctions. They will manifest as the needs arise. And the hearts of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are in harmony without distinction. So whether as a subordinate of Amitabha Buddha or coming to guide sentient beings, there is actually no difference. And Bodhisattva's attainment of Buddhahood is extremely ancient, and with boundless spiritual powers and countless manifestations. So it is in a mindfulness state, and in a mindfulness state, she can transcend from one pure land to another pure land. So you must have a brief understanding of such state of mind. So when at the attainment of the Buddhahood, the time-space concept is very different. So there is no attachment to time, to year, so they can manifest at any time-space, in any forms of manifestations. And it is because of this vow of her that make her extremely powerful and extremely strong. So anytime when we encounter difficulties and hardships, we just need to silently pray to Guanyin Bodhisattvas in our heart, and she will help and resolve and change our misfortune. So if you have ever offered an incense or even an apple or a fruit to Guanyin Bodhisattvas, when you have needs, Guanyin Bodhisattvas will come and help you. As long as you pray to her to seek her help, she will present to help to resolve our misfortune. So in Buddhism, everything stems from our own cultivations and our own realizations and enlightenment. And we want to be respectful to everything. Master, we know that Guanyin Bodhisattvas cultivate to have an auspicious hearing. Can Master help us a little bit about this? Share with us a little bit about this. Well, I may not fully comprehend what it means, but I will just share with you my understanding. So in the Buddha's teachings, we learned about the senses, the various senses. Because of our senses, we are able to experience different expressions or different emotions. There are times that we are happy or we are sad, or there are times that we have no emotions or extremely emotional. So why is it so? Because the feelings is in our body and in our consciousness. So for Guanyin Bodhisattvas, her cultivation is to have an auspicious hearings. And what is the purpose of the ear? The ear is to listen. So how does she cultivate? It comes from her compassionate heart and her hope to hear the calls of all sentient beings suffering. The moment that she hears the sufferings, she will manifest herself to go to help them. So maybe at the beginnings, the type of distress that she encountered will be the quarrels of the couples, between the couples, and the crying of the children, because these are more obvious, or someone who has suffering of the various pains of the bodies, or families fight over money, over lack of money, or that someone seriously ill in the family and they lack the financial means to save the person. So when Guanyin hears it, she will manifest and come to help. At the deeper level, say you feel some suffering, but although they are suffering, but they never thought of seeking help. But if you ever report to Guanyin Bodhisattvas, you don't have to call to Guanyin Bodhisattvas. With her divine eyes, she'll be able to sense your suffering and help you without you even having to make known to her. So that is the omyonson hearings that we are referring to. You have any questions? If you have, do raise. I think it all stems from her compassion, her great compassion for all beings. Whether we shout it out or we not shout it out, as long as she can sense the pain and suffering, she will manifest and help. That is not a question, that is more like your own realizations. After you say this, I'm not sure how to respond to that. Actually, there are various levels of such hearings. What we talked about earlier, these are very direct to help sentient beings. So Swami says that this Guanyin Bodhisattva, if you look at the image of the 1,000 arms, 1,000 hands, 1,000 eyes Guanyin Bodhisattvas, you can see that in every hand there is an image of an eyes. So what does it mean? So in the Great Compassionate Heart, the Rani Sutra, they talk about you have 1,000 hands, 1,000 eyes, and it is, what does that mean? It means it's expansive, it's complete, it's full, it's unobstructed, great compassionate heart. And the reason why it's described this way, it's for you to see the extensive power of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. So that's why you have the image that's very, or even the statues that's very real in that form to show you what it means. To even have 1,000 arms. What does it mean? It means it's limitless. Is full. Does it mean that you only have 1,000 sentient beings? No. So actually, this 1,000, the 1,000 actually it just means it's great, it's expansive, it's limitless, uncountable, immeasurable. And not only that, if you look at the palms of the 1,000 arms, you can see that there are eyes as well. So what is it trying to tell us? In the past, someone says that Bodhisattvas should try to cultivate the ability to listen. And once if you can listen very refinedly, you have power. It is through listening that you do your cultivations. Say today, I have a gate. I stepped in. What is it? It is the Thai mountain. Well, the gate doesn't tell us how big or how deep or how great what's within. So what is the entrance? The entrance is compassionate heart, and compassion is the gate into this. So imagine if you're a mother when your child is young, can you have a good night's sleep? No, very unlikely, especially when your child is still young. You will always think, or you will always care for your child, young child. You may even wake up many times, multiple times in the middle of the night to take care of the babies or the toddlers. And that's why as a mother, they will always have very sharp hearings to listen to the crying babies or the crying noise made by the child, young child. Have you heard of someone when they sleep they close their ears? No, we don't. It's not possible. So what about bodhisattvas? So bodhisattvas will have their hearings all the time, 24 hours, and protecting you and loving you. So it is through listening, then you will have this great compassion. Because of the wisdoms, it's limitless wisdoms and great power, you will be able to hear your distress and come to your assistance. So it is through listening. Actually, what it provides is inspiration for us. It provides us with new way to think about cultivations. So it is through listening and hearings.
海哭的声音，好听哈，下头唱给你听哈。
Next time I'll sing the full verse for
他
you.
用听呢为入手之处，而里面的博大，就是他想看这个世界，他本来就不是人间的人。
Actually, you must understand that Guanyin is a divine being. It is not a human being. And they want to listen to our needs, to listen to our hearts. And that's why it has great spiritual power. So we must learn how we can receive the love and guidance of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. We want to be respectful. So say when you're free, when you're at home, you're having a meal, cooking a meal, you can chant Guanyin Bodhisattvas, the mantra. It's very easy to learn. Even the Westerners, you can learn this too. Namo Guanyin Pusa, you can recite that. If you feel that this is not good enough, you can chant the 6 syllables, because that itself reached the heart of Guanyin. It can directly communicate with Guanyin, and I've taught you this already. The 6 syllables mantra. So you can listen to that. I've taught you before. You have other questions? Master, you keep mentioning about the hearings. Actually, when you listen to the extreme, what happens is that your brains is like a receivers, a mega receivers. It is a type of sensing. Without actually having to listen to it, you will sense it because your brain is like a mega receivers. So actually, you need to cultivate yourself to develop these abilities. In the Chinese physicians, they, in their learning to diagnose the patients or the illness, they learn to observing, to see the actions, the colors, the smell, and also to listen. What do you listen to? It is listen to your steps. Imagine this. For some old people, if they are sick, when they walk, compared to an old-aged man and a 20 years old youthful person, when they walk, is it different? Yes. The older person, when he walks, he will drag his feet, and you can hear that it's different compared to youngsters. It's more lively. And the moment the feet touch the floor, there is no dragging. It's very crisp and very. And there's also the other thing to hear is breathing. We talk about a man in his 80s. If he comes close to you, you can hear his breathing, an 80 years old man, because it's very obvious. You can hear the breathing. You start to wonder, why is that person so tired? Well, that's because the person is going through general degenerations. Maybe the person has the 3 highs. Maybe the person has some organs that's not performing so well, and it's affect the breathing. And that's why you can hear that the breathing tends to be slow and low. I'm going to ask you another question. You're all ladies. Say someone talk to you. The person's voice is very sharp, it's very nice. What do you think of the look of that person? I think that person must be quite beautiful. The person is lively. What about the steps? Well, the steps will be light. But the person will be healthy. So a person's voice, if the person have good voice, it means that the person is healthy. If a young person's voice is very hoarse, what does it mean? Is it healthy or not?
我说粗壮过了头了，就烙饼烙糊了啊！他的嗓子就烙饼烙糊的嗓子啊，就觉得总有一种苍凉的声音。
Well, if the person is voice is too mentally, I think the person may have a not so smooth sailing life. Well, if a person is quite young, but if the voice is very rough, especially ladies, you find that their life is not so smooth sailing. Maybe the person don't have a dad or a mom, or lose both parents. If the person have both parents, I will start to question her mental state. Because something not so good will happen on this person. There is an artist in China, I'm not going to say the name, but the voice is very hoarse. You can go and check his life. Check the life experience. You find that the person didn't have very good life experience. This is what I learned from my master. For cultivations, you may actually change the voice. And the voice can transform to a much better voice. Why is it so? That's because through cultivations, the body starts to transform to be healthier, and the voice will change as well. And that's why Guanyin Bodhisattva is actually a manifestation of a compassionate Buddha in Buddhism. Do you know what's the difference between a Buddha and Bodhisattvas? But actually, that is not important. Actually, there's no difference between Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. You can't distinguish the difference. Well, if you have a group of monks, the enlightened monks, and a group of enlightened ordinary beings, and if you were to commingle them together, can you differentiate them? No, it's not possible. I like it to be a chit-chat. So if you have questions, do raise. Actually, from the physical look, you can't tell the difference that's what's within the heart. Actually, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, there's no distinctions, there's no differentiations. But the image of Buddha, because of Sikamuni Buddha, was in a human world. And he went to cultivate in a deep forest, and through his cultivations, he entered into a deep meditative state. And that's why Subsequently, when people carve the image of Buddhas, there is this meditative state of Buddhas.
觉得这是不是有失佛的尊严嘛？不会，他正在洗衣服，给自己洗，给弟子们洗衣服，但是确实头上没有烫头发哈，因为释迦牟尼佛头是烫过的嘛哈，一卷一卷的，他就是一个普通光头或者是。
So if Shakyamuni Buddhas did not have curly hair, he's just an ordinary person, and even maybe like a bald without hair. And if he helps his disciples to wash clothes, would you still differentiate him?
所以佛在《金刚经》就教化我们啊。
In the Enlightenment Sutra, Buddha says that you look at my image, and then you can you distinguish and differentiate different image of me. And that's because you have not gained enlightenment. But why is it that we actually make different distinctions of Buddhas? Well, actually, initially, there's no difference. There's no distinction. But to assist in the spreading of the Dharma. Because the point of time, why we have this image of Buddhas sitting in a meditative state? Because it is in that meditative state that Buddhas gain enlightenment. So that's why we present that image.
一定要腾出他的双手双脚来去帮人呢。他急的是帮人，帮人是他的主业，打坐是他的副业。
So the Buddha's main job is actually to help all sentient beings. The supplementary jobs is actually in meditations, to do meditations.
是，因此。
So that's why Guanyin Bodhisattva has two images. One is a beautiful image of a lady, but she has already attained Buddhahood, yet she presents that image. But why is it she presents that image? Because that image of Guanyin Bodhisattva is already captured or deeply rooted in the ordinary folks, in their mind. So in order for the ordinary folks to benefit from Guanyin Bodhisattvas, and that's why there will be such an image that's easier to communicate with the Bodhisattvas. And that's why there are two main images of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. One is of Guanyin Bodhisattva sitting in a half-seated position, and one leg is ready to step out to help others. That is one common image. Why? That is to manifest that she's always ready to help all sentient beings. So it's getting ready to help. So that's why the image is also deeply rooted in the ordinary person. So if a person is like that throughout and for many years, what is that person? What is that image? That is an image of great compassion. That is Buddhahood. That is attainment of Buddhahood. So now you understand this? So in the Lotus Sutra, it's actually described in the Lotus Sutra, in the Universal Door chapter, it's described Guanyin Bodhisattvas the best. There is this aspiration and deeds to benefit all beings. And in the Universal Gateway of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, there is actually a question asking the Honored One, which is Shakyamuni Buddhas, who exactly is Guanyin Bodhisattvas? And it says that, well, all beings, sentient beings, when they suffer a myriad of afflictions, when they heard of Guanyin Bodhisattvas and single-mindedly recited his name, the Bodhisattvas would immediately perceive their cause and deliver them from the suffering. So the important thing is that if they were to single-mindedly recite Guanyin Bodhisattvas, it will immediately come to their rescue and liberate them. As we said earlier, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas have immeasurable spiritual powers, and they are ready to help us. And Guanyin Bodhisattva has great aspirations to help all, to use her power, immeasurable powers, to help all. And that's why the Sutra says that if countless beings are suffering and hear the name of Guanyin Bodhisattvas and single-mindedly recite it, Guanyin Bodhisattvas will immediately come to assist them and liberate them. So in the Universal Gateway of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, we talk about the seven disasters that Guanyin will help. So the first one is actually of great fire, and second is about a great billow of water. So if one were washed away by a great billow of water and recited the name of this bodhisattvas, he would soon find himself in shallow waters. So whether it's a fire disaster or if it's a water disaster, and if they maintain the recitations of the Guanyin Bodhisattva name, and he will not be burned because of the Bodhisattva's extraordinary power, and he'll be protected from fire due to her divine power. In Korea, typhoon is actually quite common, and it is quite. And when they are hit by typhoon, we can see that there are some people that they have recite the Guanyin Bodhisattvas and be saved. And in the past, when we travel, the mean of transportation is cars, trains, planes. But there's the third wish. The third is that if we seek wealth at sea and encounter a storm, and when one person recites the name of Bodhisattvas, everyone will be rescued. So if hundreds, thousands, millions of sentient beings were sent out onto the oceans, seeking gold, silver, lapis lazuli, corals, emerald, pearl, and other treasures. And an ill wind blew their ships to the land of the demons. Even if a single person were to recite the name of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, all these people will be freed from the danger. Yes, because a lot of time there is the desire for all this wealth, be it gold, silver, lapis lazuli, or corals, and that's because we want to have a better life. So reciting her name will help people who search for treasures to be saved from dangerous place. As long as one person on the vessels were to recite, and everyone will be saved and free from the danger. Now, we may not be aware how powerful, how great the Bodhisattva is, but in ancient times, a lot of fishermen, they need to bring a very small fisher boat to the oceans, and that's why they relied a lot on the divine power to ensure their safety in order to return land safely. Because we're not even talking about typhoon, even a great wave can overturn a small fishing boat. So at the moment, if they can recite Guanyin Bodhisattvas and Guanyin Bodhisattvas with the immeasurable power, they will save the fishing boat. So, Master, if we bring to modern time, we may not have a fishing boat, but if we take a car or if we take a speedboat or trains, if we recite Guanyin Bodhisattvas, will we also be saved? Yes, you will be protected by Guanyin Bodhisattvas as well. And the fourth disaster is that if someone on the verge of being harmed, and if someone is about to be killed, and if we can think of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, and we sincerely recite the name of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, the knife, the stick will be broken into pieces and freeing the victims from danger. Well, in modern times, we may not face many bandits, but we are faced with many different types of scammers. They are out there to take our money. So we may be famed, we may get into danger because of the scammers. So maybe Guanyin Bodhisattvas will remind us so that it will help us to not get close to these scammers. So, or even if you fallen to become a victim, and upon realization you sincerely recite the name of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, and you will be saved. And the five disasters is that if the truculent cousins were filled with yakshas and seeking to torture the people, and if these people can recite Guanyin Bodhisattva's name, these demons will not even dare to look at them with their eyes, much less to harm them. Because they'll be afraid of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, they will not dare to harm us. And also it was also written in the sutras that if there are people, whether guilty or innocent, physically confined by handcraft, shackles or chains, if they recite the name of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, their bonds will all be broken and they'll be free. I remember in Vancouver, we have a Dharma sister that shared with us this. There is the person was actually put in jail and there's no way out. So the person kept reciting Guanyin Bodhisattva's name. Actually, the vehicle is supposed to bring the father. So basically during that time, the daughter kept reciting Guanyin Bodhisattvas to help the father and free the father from prison and save the father's life. And that is a real experience from one of our Dharma sisters in Vancouver, that through reciting the name of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, the father was freed from prison and prevent the father from being hung. And also, the seven disasters is that for merchants carrying treasures, when they pass by places where there are robbers and bandits, and by reciting the Guanyin Bodhisattva's name, they can pass safely.
那这个时候呢，也是如果你在这个过程当中念诵观世音菩萨的名号，其实这些山贼、盗贼啊，就是都不。
So it's important that for the merchants, when they have the treasure with them, so when they face with vengeful bandits, as long as they recite number Guanyin Bodhisattvas, they will be free from danger from these robbers. And this shows the awe-inspiring and extraordinary powers of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. Well, let's say you would like to have a house, your ideal house. Well, let's say 7 is only an auspicious number.
人之所求的意思。
对，就无数，其实也可以看到，这些都是我们人间的灾难嘛。
As you can see that these are the disasters that we face in the human world. Well, when we have needs and desires, not necessarily within this 7 danger that we need to seek the Bodhisattva's help, there can be also the intentions to buy a house, you want to get a place, a suitable place, you may seek Bodhisattva's help.
是不是？比方说，看到了一个女生比我漂亮，哈，真的那个嫉妒啊，心里难受啊，怎么觉得都睡不着觉了呀？
And sometimes we want to resolve the 3 poisons, the 3 poisons being desire, anger, and ignorance. If we constantly recite Guanyin Bodhisattva's name, it can help us transcend desire, anger, and ignorance, the 3 poisons. Say, for example, today in the daytime, I have some difficulties at work with my colleagues, with my co-worker. So I'm a bit angry. I have anger within. So you need to get help from Guanyin Bodhisattva to help us. So these are the incidents that we can get help. A lot of time we may make the wrong decisions, and as a result, there are negative consequences that we have to face. So the question is, why is it that you make the wrong move? So if you were to recite the name of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, you will receive the blessings of wisdoms, and you will have more auspicious blessings, and you will avoid taking on the wrong path. And just now, we talk about the life, we talk about looking for life partner. We want to pick a good life partner. We can recite Guanyin Bodhisattva's name for that. There are also some people that after they get married, there are people who seek offsprings. So if a woman desires a son, and she make offerings to Guanyin Bodhisattvas, she will give birth to a son blessed with merits, virtues, and wisdoms. Actually, it is very common in modern science. A lot of people have difficulties to conceive. We have seen so many people who have to go through IVFs and still not able to conceive. And we have seen so many people who pray before Guanyin. Why? In order to be blessed with offsprings. So we have also seen that their requests to be fulfilled, and that's why Guanyin Bodhisattvas will always try to fulfill the wish. Why? That's because of sincerity. So the child blessing Guanyin Bodhisattvas will help those who sincerely pray and chant to him for child. Not only that, the child will be blessed with merits, virtues, and wisdoms. So if she desires a daughter, and she will bear a daughter of good demeanor and looks, and with merits accumulated from past life, beloved and respected by all. So usually for ladies, if they have more merits, they tend to have good demeanor and good look. Not only that, they are also very filial to both the parents and the in-laws, and they will be a good support to the husband career, and they'll be good parents to the offsprings. So we want to thank Bodhisattva Bodhisattvas. And in the sutras also says that there are also a lot of merits reciting Guanyin Bodhisattva's names and make offerings, because it will bring immeasurable merits, and that is equivalent to reciting the names of countless bodhisattvas millions of times. And that's because Guanyin Bodhisattva has already accumulated immeasurable merits, and by reciting it, you're equivalent to, it can bring immeasurable merits as well. And also, Guanyin Bodhisattva appears in forms, and there's this 33 manifestations of Guanyin manifestations. What it represents is limitless manifestations. So there are various forms of Guanyin. There's white-robed Guanyin. There's also Guanyin of giving sons. There's also Guanyin with fish baskets. There's also Guanyin riding a red dragons. And so there's also dragon riding Guanyin as well. So there are many different types of Guanyin in Han Chinese Buddhism. So from young, we have very good impressions of Guanyin because of the novels Journey to the West. Because every time when they have difficulties trying to pass the next hurdles, they always seek the help and guidance of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. Every time when they get into trouble, the Buddhas, the one that always constantly appear is actually Guanyin Bodhisattvas, and because of her great compassion. So we also have many stories about how they help. Guanyin Bodhisattvas have helped many people. I think we are very close to the Guanyin Bodhisattva's Enlightenment Day. What I think is probably similar to the great aspirations of Guanyin. On this very auspicious moment of Guanyin Bodhisattvas attaining enlightenment, many divine deities and even in the ghost realms, they listen to Guanyin Bodhisattvas. So I think for us, we want to help all sentient beings. We want our wish to be fulfilled, to have opportunities for wishes to be fulfilled. So maybe you can share with us about what is available, so that how we can receive the
好的，师父。好的，师父，是这样子。其实，人间的苦难实在是太多了。我们现世的虽然看上去科学技术发达了，可是我们
There are a lot of pains and suffering in the human realms.
在我们现代文明的社会里，它还有战争。
And even in our modern times, there are also wars going on right now. There are a lot of sufferings. And there are a lot of countries, a lot of people are suffering in poverty. And in fact, we are just out of the 3 years of COVID.
这个大瘟疫过去，真的是几千万的人丧失了性命，而且我们还面临着我们家人三高、心脏病。
We also face with our family members having different disease, suffering from various disease.
太多的这种病苦。
There are many pains and suffering.
我们还要碰到，孩子要高考了。
And sometimes we may have children going through major examinations and going through stress. And some children are very naughty and disobedient and refuse to put in effort in their studies or take on the wrong path or mix with wrong companies. So they may use the parents' money and buy or splurge on computer games, and they may spend excessive times on the computer games. So that is like at ordinary families. If the families is a bit rich, they have more desires. So maybe they want to buy a branded sport car, or they want to have expensive meals. And not only that, they may not like to study, or when they face hindrance, they refuse to leave their house, and they have some mental imbalance. And for aged parents, they may suffer from some disease, serious disease, maybe bedridden. And if you see that parents are suffering, you may bring pain to you as well. So if you feel any of that, now the world economy is also facing financial difficulties. And some people, they even have the sole breadwinner losing their jobs, so causing financial burdens to the entire families. And so for some, they may have some problems in their career, or they have some litigations ongoing that's causing a lot of stress. So if you have these occasions, and if it's very close to the Guanyin Bodhisattva's Enlightenment Day, this is a great opportunity. And you want to sincerely chant to Guanyin Bodhisattvas in order for you to connect with Guanyin Bodhisattvas. So how is it best to connect with Guanyin Bodhisattvas? We hope to make offerings, to offer lights. Offering lights is the most direct way to communicate with Guanyin Bodhisattvas, to ask Guanyin Bodhisattvas for help. That is how you express your thoughts, how you express your desires for help from Guanyin Bodhisattvas. And our masters is so great, compassionate beings. He allows us to participate in the auspicious blessings for the living, for light offerings. So it allows us to be blessed by Guanyin Bodhisattvas. We hope that all who have wished, may their wishes be fulfilled, whether they pray for happiness or health or peace. Their wishes will all be fulfilled. If you need to ward off worries, to dispel worries and obstacles and bring peace and well-being, Guanyin Bodhisattvas will be able to help to clear your disasters. Or if you want to have healthy offspring, this is also the opportunity for you to seek the blessings of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. I'm sure that there are a lot of people in modern worlds are suffering because they have made some mistakes, or they face with some hindrance in life. So this is an opportunity to make offerings to Guanyin Bodhisattvas to seek guidance and help, or even to accumulate merits. So this is a great opportunity to come forth sincerely and with the merits, immeasurable merits of Guanyin Bodhisattvas to help us. So I hope that all can look at the website. And this is the Bodhi Meditation College website. So there is this Guanyin Bodhisattva's response to all supplications. So there's this opportunity for you to offer lights. Sometimes we can't help to resolve some of this, and that's why we hope to have some divine guidance, divine help. So the key is to have sincerities. And today we also have good stories about how Guanyin Bodhisattvas help.
这个护佑有关系我先这个故事的名字呢，我给它起了个名字，就是这个诸地得观音菩萨护佑。
And I actually have the name of these stories is Juti. It's Juti gaining the help of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. So who is Juti? Well, Juti is the fourth son of the Hongwen Emperor. I will give a little brief introductions. His father is actually Zhu Yuanzhang. We did talk about it in the past.
他之前呢是中国的元朝，那因为这个朱元璋的存在呢，就把这个元朝呢这个灭了。
Because of Zhu Yuanzhang, he actually destroyed the Yuan dynasties.
元朝的这个真正的官兵赶回了蒙古。那么在中原地区呢，就建立了大明王。
So in central China, he built his own dynasties.
那么朱元璋呢是一个特别智慧、特别勇猛。
Zhu Yuanzhang is a very wise emperor, the first emperor.
就是但是呢，他做了一件错误的。
But he made a mistake.
他一生做了很多正确的事情。
He made a lot of good decisions, but on one matter, he made a controversial decisions, and that's regarding his successor. So after Zhu Yuanzhang passed away, who is supposed to be his successor? Well, he has several sons. Zhu Yuanzhang has several sons. His elder son is Zhu Biao. Zhu Di is the fourth son, but the elder son is Zhu Biao. He is a good person, and he is the crown prince of the Ming dynasty. He is a talented and virtuous general. He is also a very capable person. And that's why Zhu Yuanzhang really liked Zhu Biao, because he is the ideal successor of Zhu Yuanzhang. But the problem is he's too perfect that he went through several battlefields and he was injured. And he was injured in one of the fights, but he didn't fully recover from that, and he died early. So based on the Chinese tradition, if the parents have 5 sons, well, because the daughters cannot take on the throne, so usually the elder son will be the next in line. So that is quite. So the elder son will succeed the throne. But Zhu Biao, although he is a very capable person, he was the crown prince, but he died early. But because Zhu Biao died early, so now they need to find a new successor, and that's causing a lot of headache. So during that time, the Ming dynasties have already established. So some of the younger brothers are actually like small. They have some positions as well, and they take care of some territory.
但是想想这个儿子贪财，那个好色，那个心眼小，说那个太粗鲁，想想各有毛病。
So he thought about the other sons who can succeed Zhu Biao, but all have its own shortcomings. So he did a controversial decision, and that is because Zhu Biao got married early, he has a son. So the eldest grandson. So usually when grandparents, when they look at the eldest grandson, they like it the most. All the attention is on the eldest grandson. So he has a lot of impressions on the eldest grandson. That usually what happens is that the first grandsons, the grandparents would dote on the first grandson. And when they have 10 grandchildren, the rest are pretty much very insignificant. So because Zhu Biao died early, and one day, out of no rhyme or reason, he favored his eldest grandson and picked him as the successor. And I think he made a wrong decision. And this grandson is called Zhu Yuanwen. So when Zhu Yuanzhang died, the Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang died, Zhu Yuanwen became the crown prince. But he became a crown prince before he turned 20. That's very young and inexperienced. So it's quite impossible for such a young and inexperienced person to rule the country well. And especially when he's a crown prince. Have you ever suffered before? Have you ever been on the battlefield? No, he has not been through that. So every time, the moment when he starts to have memories, all he can remember is being taken care of by many servants. So he has not been through life, not been through the ups and downs of life. It's just a child when he succeeded to be the emperor. So he has these dreams to be the greatest emperor. So what he did is that he hired a few he deemed as capable people. But these people, they gave very bad ideas to him. So one of his policies, 井田制, he actually dissects the piece of land that's hard-earned land by some of the ordinary people and divide out. Will the farmers be angry? Yes. It is a way to bring down the country. How is it possible to allocate the land given to the hard-earned by the farmers to bring it back and allocate back to the country? Of course, they don't like it, and they will have uprising. And not only that, Zhu Yuanwen is very short-sighted, and it's very petty. And shortly after he became the emperor, he used his special power to remove several of his uncles from their princely positions and demoting them to commoners. Or find reason to secretly recruit soldiers and kill them. So at that time, Zhu Di was the prince of Yan, and he knew that he would be next target for demotion. So he was the Yan state. He was actually the prince of Yan, Zhu Di, which is very close to Beijing now. During that time, Beijing was not the capital. Actually, during the Yuan dynasties, the capital was in Beijing. So Yuan, Prince of Yuan, has no soldiers.
国王养更多的兵，但是有200-300个，来保护他这个。
So the emperor will have the army, but the Prince of Yuan probably have 200 to 300 people. These are the one to protect him. So they are allowed to have a small troops of soldiers, but they are not army. But Zhu Di knew about this Zhu Yuanwen. He knew that he would be next target for demotions. So he thought that it's better for him to rebel and fight back rather than to surrender. So he was forced to do that. So he actually tried to pretend to be mad. So when the spies went back to report to the emperor, Zhu Yuanwen, they report that Zhu Di has become mad, so that he will not focus so much on Zhu Di. And during this time, his followers, he has a very strong military advisor. And his name is Yao Guangxiao. He's knowledgeable in Buddhism and Taoism. And he's a Zen Buddhist monk. He played an important role. And he's very knowledgeable. He was believed that he received the influence and inspirations of Guanyin Bodhisattvas to help Zhu Di to become a good emperor. When the empress died, Zhu Yuanzhang's wife died, they have a lot of high-ranking monks to return to the capital and chant and recite for the empress. And he's one of them. The Yao Guangxiao was one of them. Zhu Di is a very smart person. So after the funerals, he brought Yao Guangxiao, this Zen monk, to return to his Yan state. And Yao Guangxiao is not an ordinary monk. He has the inspirations and guidance of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. And he has the intention to raise Zhu Di to become a good emperor. So there is a link to Guanyin Bodhisattvas. So when Yao Guangxiao received the inspirations, he wanted to help Zhu Di. He seeks the guidance of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. And it says that if Zhu Di can become the emperor, he will have least killings and the dynasty will prosperous for another 250 years. And if Zhu Di is not the emperor, then there will be more killings. So after the monks received the inspirations from Guanyin Bodhisattvas, he is determined to assist Zhu Di to ascend to the throne. This Zhu Yuanwen, the emperor, because he's emperor, he have control, full command of the army. And for Zhu Di, it's just a prince in a small state. He didn't have enough troops. So how can they fight? It's not possible for them. So 1 year, probably in 1401, in April, so Zhu Yuanwen Emperor sent a general, Li Jinglong, with a 600,000 strong army to attack Zhu Di. You have a huge army, and Zhu Di only have 100,000 troops to meet them in battle. So it was actually a very dangerous fight. And near to the Baigou River area, that's in Hebei, in the Beijing, Nanjiao area. So you can see that the south is the South Army. That's the Yan army, Zhu Di. So Zhu Di asked Yao Guangxiao, the monk, before the war, and say, the enemy is very strong. They have 600,000 strong troops, and we only have 100,000 troops. So will we succeed? Yao Guangxiao replied, I already consulted Guanyin Bodhisattva. You can go. But Zhu Di was somehow skeptical and asked, really? Why be killed? And Yao Guangxiao assured him and said, trust me, go. Go for it. And Zhu Di they went for the battle, went for the rounds, and the battle began. And they have to go through several rounds of fightings. Because the emperor has a stronger army, bigger army, the Zhu Di's army were exhausted because their force is smaller. And Zhu Di was actually on the verge of defeat. And if the enemy were to launch a decisive attack, it will wipe his army out. What can they do? And when Zhu Di was wondering what he can do, he was thinking of how to escape. Suddenly, from nowhere, there was a very strong gust of wind arose. And it is like it is twirling and turning and causing. It's causing chaos in the Ming army's camp. Because the troops couldn't open their eyes. And Zhu Di's side, their army, they are on the north side. The army is from the south. So they'll be able to fight with clear eyes, with clear visions. So they have the great general Li Jinglong, that's the Ming army's general. So he has this general flags. There is a huge flags. And the wind swirled around the general's flag. And the general flags, the flagpoles, broke and causing the flag to fall. So this unexpected event left the Ming soldiers shocked. Isn't that strange? So this flagpole broke and the soldiers were shocked. And seizing these opportunities, the Zhu launched a counterattack while the Ming army was in disarray, and they were defeated. Yes, I'm sure. Indeed, they feel it's very inauspicious because they believe that it's a sign from heavens. Because Li Jinglong troops is 600,000. And the Zhu army is very small in comparison. But because of this strong gush of winds that helped to swirl around the general flags and broke the flagpoles for no rhyme of reasons, it caused the soldiers to be in the shocking state. And that's why Zhu seized the opportunities to launch a counterattack. And in the spring of 1402, actually both sides of the armies were really very exhausted. And Zhu's army were more exhausted because the other part, the opponents, is the strong armies of the emperor. As you can imagine, Zhu is only controlled of a very small Yan state. And because they have a small state, they don't have enough of capable and strong people. And this is clearly recorded in history. So because the armies, Zhu's armies is small and exhausted, everyone seems to be fearful. So Zhu is trying to come up with a strategy, because by continuously fighting, the situation seems helpless. So he discussed with the monk Yao Guangxiao. And he said, maybe we should counterattack. So actually, Zhu was in the palace for a long time, and he has some insiders that still staying in the imperial palace. So he received a message from insiders in the Nanjing Imperial Palace informing Zhu that the capital's defenses were weak and an attack of the capital could result in victory. So Zhu discussed with Yao Guangxiao, and they decided to take the risk and launch a bold offensive attack towards the capital, Nanjing. So it was also an opportunity. So he asked Yao Guangxiao for inspirations. So they decided that they should launch the offensive counterattack. And he receives inspirations from Guanyin Bodhisattva. When you see any temple, you should pray and make offerings to the deities inside. And he said, well, that's easy. He could do that. Because before that, he have already received inspirations from Guanyin Bodhisattvas, and his confidence in Guanyin Bodhisattvas have elevated. So they started to launch an offensive attack. So when they reached the Sui River, which is in Anhui province, Zhu encountered a fierce resistance because from a general It is also a great general that has a strong army. Xu Huizu. So they fight. There's intense fight between Zhu Di's forces and General Xu Huizu's forces. And they were unable to break through. And Zhu Di start to see that if his army will continue to fight, it's actually on the verge of collapse. And he went past a local temple. It's not a very big temple. It's quite a small one. And a local tell him that the Guanyin temple is very... And he remembers that the advice of Yao Guangxiao to pray to any temples that they chant upon. So he went into this local Guanyin temple and prayed for help. He made a vow that he seek the Buddha's help, Guanyin Bodhisattva's help, that if he can break through the army's defense, he will rebuild and restore the temple. So he made that great wish. Not sure whether Guanyin Bodhisattvas hear his wish. And remarkably, on the same day that Zhu Di prayed at the temple, the main general, Xu Huizu, was unexpectedly recalled to the capital. Yes, indeed, the main general was recalled to the capital. So this left their defense weakened. So he bring with him a part of his army. And Zhu Di immediately seized the opportunity to advance towards the capital. And he said that if I becomes the next emperor, I will believe in Buddhism and I will reward heavily the monk Yao Guangxiao. So after the main general was recalled back to the capital, so the one who is supposed to bring the food for the Ming soldiers, so Zhu Di's army, they actually seized all the food that was meant for the Ming's army. So what happened now? And the Xu Huizu's soldiers have no food. Say, for example, if you need to go to the battlefield, you need to consume a lot more grains, rice, and food, because it is very tiring in the battlefield. So when suddenly all the food is being captured by Zhu Di's army, the Ming's army lacked food. That's the first part. After Xu Huizu was called back to the capital, they are left with two other generals, Ping An and He Fu. These are also very strong generals, but in comparison to Xu Huizu, they are a lot less strong. So after Xu Huizu brought the army back to the capital, they probably left with only 300,000 army there. So what they decided to do is that there is this location called Lingbi. It is an area that is a strategic location that is difficult to break through. So they say, when should we start the battle? In the past, there's no other signaling. They say that, well, we will signal 3 cannon shots to represent attack. So they will move to Lingbi as a sign of attack. I think it's probably inspirations from Guanyin Bodhisattva. And during that night, Zhu armies also discussed. And they say that we take these opportunities to advance. So he has quite a few soldiers as well. And he also signaled the same, the 3 cannon shots. And for them, Zhu Di gave the signal of 3 cannon shots to attack. And at the same time, the Xu Huizu soldiers interpreted the signal as a retreat order. So probably it happens like very early in the morning, early day. So Zhu Di, they start to sign the signals 1-2 hours earlier. Because they want to attack early in the early morning to conserve energy. So after Zhu Di gave the signal, the 3 cannon shots to attack, the Xu Huizu soldiers haven't even wake up properly. And they interpreted wrongly. So Zhu Di signals is attack. But for the Xu Huizu soldiers, they are even not properly dressed up yet. So they didn't know that it was actually Zhu Di's that signaled the cannons. So before they are ready, Zhu Di's army charged forward. And they are actually getting ready to retreat. Let me ask you, when one army is charging to attack and the other army is interpreting as a form of retreat, what will happen? It will cause them to panic and run. So Zhu Di's forces capitalized on the confusion and defeated the Ming army. Eventually, they captured the capital and claimed the throne. And in this battle, Zhu Di won. And there is in this final battle that got him to claim back the throne, there is actually help of the divine. There aside from the divine, the general flagpole was broken accidentally, and there was a strong wind that blurred the visions of the Ming dynasties, and also about the 3 cannon shots of different interpretations that allowing them a least strong army to win the race. So that's why this is an opportunity for you to get Guanyin Bodhisattvas to fulfill your wish, so that we'll be able to clear disasters and have our wishes fulfilled. And I'm sure that it's quite common to have some of these stories about Guanyin Bodhisattvas helping normal people. Do you have some story to share? Yes, we have a story to share from Malaysia, Chen Yixun. It says about Bodhisattvas helped her to overcome difficulties. Hello everyone, I'm Chen Yixun. I'm 87 this year. And when I was young, I was influenced by my mother. I started the habits of chanting the Bodhisattva's names every morning when I was in my 30s. And I persisted without fail. In August 1987, at the age of 51, my wife and I signed up for a travel package to Phuket, Thailand. We thought that it would be a joyful trip. But a few days before departure, I felt very uneasy and anxious for no reason. So I mentioned this to a friend, and he advised me that if I feel so uneasy, I should not go for the trip. After thinking about it, I thought of my 4 young children and worried what would happen to them if something happened to us. So after discussing with my wife, we decided to cancel our travel plans on the day before departure. And the next day, we saw a shocking news report. The flight to Phuket crashed, and all 83 people on board perished. We were filled with mixed emotions. We were grateful that we had escaped a great disaster, but our hearts were heavy thinking about those unfortunate victims. We are extremely thankful for the compassionate protections of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, which saved our lives. And 10 years later, in 2004, I had my first stroke at the age of 68. And I was hospitalized in critical conditions. One night, I had a dream of traveling to a place. And as I walked, I saw a bridge ahead. And on the other side of the bridge was darkness, with a group of people walking slowly with their heads down. Curiously, I walked towards the bridge. And in the middle of the bridge, I suddenly saw an old man with long white hair and a long white beard. He stood in the center of the bridge and asked me where I was going. I pointed to the other side, and the old man hurriedly told me to go back, saying, "Go back now." Then I woke up. It was already 4 a.m., and my son was with me at the hospital. After that day, my conditions improved significantly. And after 5 days, the doctors allowed me to go home for recovery. I was deeply grateful to Guanyin Bodhisattvas for saving me from the brink of death. And in 2018, I had my second stroke, and it affected the right side of my body, requiring me to use a cane walking stick to walk. However, I have a friend who introduced me to Bodhi meditations, and I started to participate in the class, and I learned energy Baigou. And through my practice of energy Baigou, my legs and feet became stronger, and my spirits becomes energized. And during the MGI, I could stand the whole time without the walking stick. Now I can even manage light chores in the kitchens on my own. I'm truly delighted. I'm extremely grateful to the Buddhas and Guanyin Bodhisattvas for their compassionate blessings and protections, helping me overcome the difficulties in my life. I will continue to practice Bodhi meditation methods every day, striving to improve myself and live a healthy and happy life. Gratitude to Master. Well, that is a great disaster that she managed to escape. Well, if they had bought that plane that crashed, it would be devastating for the family. The key is when Buddhas, Guanyin Bodhisattvas, give us inspirations, we should try to receive it. I think he has good affinities because he keeps reciting Guanyin Bodhisattvas. And that's why you will be able to receive the inspirations, you'll be able to get it. But indeed, if he had gone for the flight, will be devastating. He also mentioned that he had stroke, and his stroke was actually very serious, and he had a dream. And in the dream, actually, he's going to the Naihe Bridge, which is a bridge for the deaf. But he met this old man, long-bearded man, and shouted at him to ask him to go back. And that saved him and bring him back to the human realms. And subsequently, his friend introduced him to join Bodhi meditations. He practiced energy Bagua, and I think through it, his health improved. So he is now able to gain health back. Do you have any stories from the sea, some surviving some misfortunes and disasters in the sea? Yes, Master. We have internet friends from Taiwan. Hello, Master. I'm from Taiwan, Xiaoshu. I have a good friend, Ling. And Ling, who is believed in Buddhism since childhood and worshipped Guanyin Bodhisattvas. Her husband is the graduate of the Marine Institute and has the skills to operate ships. So 1 year around the Lunar New Year, he and several friends from the Marine Institute signed up to act in a film as ship captains. So before, they needed to test the ship, so they borrowed a ship they never operated before and set off from Kaohsiung Port to Jiali Port. Ling often advised her husband to remember Guanyin Bodhisattvas when going to sea, seeking the Bodhisattva's protection. On the day of departure, Ling reminded him again, but he casually replied, "Okay, okay," and left. After taking sail, they encountered a cold current in the sea. The wind and waves became fierce and high. And because they were unfamiliar with the ship, and it was also in poor conditions, suddenly a huge wave hit the ship and the ship capsized. And everyone fell into the cold sea. Although they were all professionals and could swim, and they had life-saving equipment, they were helpless in the cold wind and waves. There was no rescue in sight, and the situation was terrifying. One by one, his friends succumbed and disappeared into the sea. Her husband watched as they were swallowed by the sea, feeling immense pain and fear. In the coldness and darkness, he suddenly remembered Ling's constant reminder to chant the name of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. So he desperately began to chant in this critical moment. And he kept chanting, "Guanyin Bodhisattvas, the compassionate one, save us from suffering and difficulties." He didn't know how long he has been chanting. Later, a fishing boat rescued him and took him to the hospital. He found out later that he has been drifting at sea for 14 hours. He was the only survivor of that maritime disaster. And this confirmed the passage from the Lotus Sutra. Recite the name of Guanyin Bodhisattvas and the waves cannot drown you. Why did the fishing boat come to save him? It was a miraculous response to the chants of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. The fisherman has no intentions of going to sea that day, because all fishermen rested because of the cold current and high waves, and nobody want to go to the sea. But that day, something strange happened. The incense burner for Guanyin Bodhisattvas at the fisherman's home suddenly caught fire. His wife didn't know what happened and kept urging him to go out to sea. He wasn't happy about it and said, "Today, the cold current is here, and the waves are so high. No one is going out to sea. Where do you want me to go? You're usually not that persistent about money. Why are you doing that today?" Eventually, they had an argument and they went out to sea out of anger. Once at sea, he saw a dark figure floating among the waves. Initially, he thought it was a fish, but when he approached, he realized it was a distressed person. He rescued him and took him to the hospital in Jili. After the medical examinations, Ling's husband was fine except for red eyes, looking like carrots, and his overall health was normal. Doctors and everyone present found it incredible. Drifting in the cold waves for 14 hours, watching friends die one by one with no food and water, in the freezing sea with no rescue in sight and such darkness, yet he came back alive. It was a great miracle. Most people, they would get skin damage from soaking in seawater for half a day, but he was intact. At that moment, Ling's husband deeply realized the power of Guanyin Bodhisattva's compassionate protections, which allow him to survive such a dangerous calamities. So this is such a miracle. Wow, so happy to hear such stories. But I think there is also this karmic connections between Guanyin and them. Because why is it that the fisherman's, the incense burner, was suddenly just caught fire, and the wife prompted the husband to go to the sea? And why is it that Ling, which is the wife, keep reminding him to recite Guanyin Bodhisattva's chant? Actually, in Fujian, Guangdong, a lot of time, before they go out to sea, they always pray to the deities, to Guanyin and to Maju, to protect them. And when you chant sincerely, and if you have Guanyin Bodhisattvas at home, Guanyin Bodhisattvas will definitely protect you and bless you. And we have the stories of Chen Yixin and this person about Xiaoshu. I have each one of them 3 auspicious treasure beads for you. Each one will receive 3 beads, wishing you auspiciousness. Master, we have another stories about Bodhisattva saving the fire. Hello, Masters. I'm Lin Youhua, 86 years old this year. Since I was young, I believe in Bodhisattvas with my parents, and over 60 years, I have my first Guanyin Bodhisattva statues, and that's in the picture. My elder son loved this Guanyin Bodhisattva statue very much, and once made a vow in front of the statue, saying that when he has ability to build a big house, he will invite Guanyin Bodhisattvas to the new home as the main deities. Indeed, within 2 years, my eldest son moved into a new house that he built himself, and he invited the Guanyin Bodhisattvas from his old house to the new one. I'm very happy in my heart. Now, all my children are married and have established a career, and they all devotedly worship and offer to Guanyin Bodhisattvas. My sons are very filial and have prepared rooms for me in their respective homes, so I can take turns to stay with them and enjoy the blessings of having grandchildren. So thanks to the protections of Guanyin Bodhisattvas, everything has been going well after my elder sons moved to the new house, and our family is happy and harmonious. 10 years after moving to the new house, one day when my elder son was at work, the neighbors urgently called him back home. It turned out that thick smoke was continuously coming out of our house, and it seems like a fire had broken out. They knocked on the door, but no one responded. When my eldest son hurried home, he intended to put out the fire, but he found out that the fire had already extinguished itself halfway though. Upon careful inspection, it was likely that the oil lamp on the altar that caused the fire. But thanks to Bodhisattva's protections, the fire miraculously stopped on its own. My son and daughter-in-law said to me, "It's really strange. Judging from the burn marks on the cabinet, which is the altar table, more than half of the cabinet has been burnt, and the ancestral tablet on the land go placed under the altar was also burned. So according to the common sense, the calamity would have become unstable and collapsed. But the Guanyin Bodhisattva statue remained stable in the center without any movement. The fire burned right up to the side of the Guanyin statue and then extinguished on its own. So the statue is completely unscarred and perfect. So it's a miracle and deeply grateful for Guanyin Bodhisattva's protections. So that is Ling Youhua. So I have 3 auspicious treasure beads for her and the family.
师父，那所以在这个观音祭呀，真的是观世音菩萨一直在关注、聆听我们世间。So
during this Guanyin Enlightenment Day, around this period, Guanyin is listened attentively to all the callings and all the sufferings of all beings. We want to have good inspirations with Guanyin Bodhisattvas.
是这样子啊，那也是非常感恩师父的慈悲。那在我们的这个慈悲音啊，2大慈悲音网站上都有在这个观音祭里的。
A great thanks to masters, and during this Guanyin Enlightenment, there is this special promo event, and there's some Guanyin agate pendants. There's some promotions of that. And also the main dynasty 4-arm Guanyin Bodhisattva's golden tanka, there's also some promotions for that. And also Grandmaster artwork, the dragons. So there are special promotions in Zhibei. So on the body, we want to have some Guanyin Bodhisattva statue with us, so that on critical moment we will be blessed and receive the auspicious protections. And let's tell you the time period. And this special promotion event is going to start. And there's also a free shipment on single order. It's going to start on the 23rd of July to 31st of August. That's the promo duration. That is a very good promotion because right now the shipments is actually quite expensive, and if you purchase $500, shipments will be included. We hope that during this auspicious period, we'll have better connections, better karmic connections with Guanyin Bodhisattvas. Master, can we have a chanting class during this special period? Because we like to share with Guanyin Bodhisattvas our hopes and our aspirations. How is it we can connect more efficiently and effectively with Guanyin Bodhisattvas? Is it through chanting? Maybe we can have chanting and to communicate with Guanyin Bodhisattvas. Yes, I agreed. So we have to arrange the time for the chanting class. How about next weekend? That's Saturday and Sunday. So we have 2 days. During the live broadcast time is the evening time. We'll do it in the evening because modern time a lot of people are very busy. And if you can allocate 2 hours, let's do that. Thank you, Master. So it will be July the 29th to July the 30th, and Korean time is 8 p.m. and Asia Taipei time is 7 p.m. for 2 days. We're going to have a prayer answered chanting class. And I hope that if you have wishes, and you can put into the prayer registration list, and we will actually put inside so that you can have, so that you can join the chanting class, and you'll receive the blessings and protections of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. and have your wishes fulfilled. Thank you, Master. We really look forward to next week, the chanting class. So I hope that you'll be able to find time in the evening for 2 hours. I think it's very, very worth it. Because a lot of time, we may not be able to have our wishes fulfilled just by our own abilities. And that's why we want to seek the divine help. I remember it's 2003, many years ago, in Vancouver. It's in July. It's on the day of Guanyin Enlightenment Day. On that day, the place that I was living, there is beautiful birds, colorful birds. Those are houses in the surrounding. Those birds are very special. There are at least 10 over type species of very colorful birds. They are chirping happily. And a practitioner called me and said that looks like the place that you live has very colorful clouds. So I took my camera and I looked in the sky. And I saw a manifestations of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. It's a sitting image of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. We look at the image. If you look at it, you can actually see it in a sitting positions or in a standing positions. My feelings is about probably 100 meters to 300 meters, and it's a huge manifestations, cloud manifestations. The image of the face was so clear. So the picture that you see, it seems like there is a tiger. You can see the image of tiger. It was very clear to me during that time. And I was so excited that I used my camera to start taking shots. So I actually have two cameras. One is the traditional camera using films. And in fact, that camera was an old camera that I brought along before I went to Canada. And the film itself is left only with a few towards the end. So I just used that to capture a few shots. And I also took digital photos. And when I try to look at it from the computers, there's no image at all. So a lot of time, when we see miracles that happens, when we try to capture on films, it never happens. So what I did was I removed the films. And what's surprising is that when I took the picture back from the Photoshops, I saw this image of Guanyin Bodhisattvas. And that's why I should like to share this with you. Actually, Guanyin Bodhisattvas has been with me throughout my growing years. Today, I'm not going to share this in great details. I have shared that before. And indeed, Guanyin Bodhisattvas will always be there to protect and guide you, and spiritual guidance, spiritual protections. And I want to express my great gratitude to Guanyin Bodhisattvas for providing auspicious blessings and protections, and wishing all beings to be safe, to be peaceful, health, longevities, and may the world be peaceful, and everyone will have food on the table. So next week, we will have a short chanting class. Although the timing may be short, but if you were to chant sincerely, I'm sure it will be very effective.
好吧，好，祝大家健康长寿。
Wishing all health and longevity.
幸福快乐。
Wishing all happiness and auspiciousness.
那我们下个周六是吧？下周六再见。
And we'll see you next Saturday. Thank you.
下的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇，我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了。因为有了你，生命变得更坚定，不忧忧无虑。因为有了你，不再有哭泣，不再有恐惧。我快乐了，我快乐了，我健康了，我健康了，我幸福了，我幸福了，我美丽了，我美丽了。小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐 了，我美丽了，在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了。